Okay. I'd like to call the January 15th meeting of the City Council of Cannon Falls to order. Pardon my, if I can get through it talking here, I got a cold. But first item is roll call.
Councilmember Bringold.
Present.
Duncan.
Here.
Gesme.
Here.
Lundell.
Here.
Mattson.
Here.
Montgomery.
Here.
And Mayor Altoff.
Here. I want to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That leads us to the approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion by Bill and a second by Steve to approve the agenda. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, that leads us to item 5, public input. Citizens may speak to issues not on the agenda. Before speaking, give your name and address for the minutes. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Comments must be pertinent to city business and adhere to the data privacy rules. No employee's name may be used and personal attacks will not be tolerated. Does anybody want to address the public input tonight?
Good evening, Board. I'm Kyle Paulson, and I'm here representing the Chamber of Commerce of Cannon Falls area. And the two events that I want to talk about briefly tonight is the first event is a brand new event in 2019. It is called Flavor of the Falls. It will be on October 5th and 6th. That is a Saturday and Sunday. And basically what it is anyone in the community can put on an event. And the Chamber is going to help you promote that event throughout the state, throughout the region, anywhere we want to put it. And so if you remember last year, the Sogan Valley Art Fair was that weekend. Burndale Market had their open house. The winery had music. And Tillian's had a new beer that they had created. And so that was kind of the start of Flavor of the Falls. And so if anyone out there is interested in participating, has an idea of any kind of event, please let us know. We are talking about possibly some polka bands, a street dance, all sorts of fun things to get everything rolling. We want to show off what we can do here in Cannon Falls. The next announcement is the Chamber's golf tournament and fundraiser. In the past, it has been in September. This year, we are moving it up to June. And so we are looking at 2 dates right now at the last week of June. I'm going to just hold off on saying that specific date until we've locked it in. But start to get your golf teams together because it'll be a great time. And we are looking at the Cannon Golf Club for 2019. Any questions?
The Flavor of the Falls, where's that location going to be again?
All through Cannon Falls.
The whole city?
Yes.
Okay.
We're working on transportation so that we can get people from Ferndale, hotels, down by the Artisan Plaza, up to Mill Street. Now, if anybody wants to do anything north, Hannah's Bend, we're all in favor of that. We can work on transportation to get people around town for that. But that's what we're looking at. So yes, it can be anywhere. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kyle. Anyone else public input tonight? Anyone else? Public input. Okay, we'll close the public input hearing and we'll move to the consent agenda. Items on this area of the agenda may be adopted, or they may be removed and placed on the business area of the agenda for discussion purposes before improving. For you in the audience and you at home, I'll read the consent agenda. Item A, just and correct claims, accounting period ending December 31st, 2018. Item B, just and correct claims for the accounting period ending January 11th, 2019. C, meeting minutes for January 2nd, 2019 City Council meeting. Item D, election of the 2019 Fire Department officers. Item E, stormwater utility, ordinance number 291. Item F, resolution 2407, accepting a donation of $250 from the Molitor Farms to the fire department. And item G, continuing education agreement. Are there any items that the council would like to pull down?
Yes, I'd like to pull down item E, the stormwater utility.
Okay, we'll make that item 8A. Are there any other items that you'd like to pull down? Okay, I take a motion to accept the consent agenda with the exception of the stormwater utility.
So moved.
I'll second. Okay.
Motion by Mary Jill, second by Morris, to accept the consent agenda with the exception of the stormwater utility item. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. That leads us to council business, the city administrator contract.
Like me to report?
Your name's on it.
Please.
Okay, thank you. As the council knows, this has been kind of a work in process the last several months, I would say. And last evening, I met again with the Personnel Committee, and we talked again about the contract, and really the unfinished business from the last contract was really a beginning date and inserting some dates in the contract. So we did do that last night, and this would carry with approval. This would carry through the early part of July in terms of the initial period of employment as the city administrator. At the end of that period, both of us would have a conversation and dialogue, and if it's working for you and it's working for me, then we probably continue it on beyond that point. But at least initially, that's the time period that we're dealing with. The only other additional items that I proposed in the contract was some language about some specific projects, some specific duties, some efforts that are already well on their way towards completion that I would step aside from at this point. I think that's reasonable, for me to do at this point, and I identified those in the agreement itself. Other than that, nothing pertaining to compensation, benefits, was changed. It was really the beginning period of employment. And then a couple of work tasks that would be assigned to others along the way. I don't know if any of the members of the Personnel Committee, if I've missed anything, or if you got some specific questions.
No, the changes were very minor in nature. So the contract that we had, the previous council had approved, is still there. We just need basically to approve the changes, and starting tomorrow, I believe, you would, after this evening's meeting, if with our approval, you and John will sign the contract and we'll all be ready to go. So I guess I'll make a motion to approve the city administrator contract as amended.
I'll second it.
Motion was made by Bill and second by Morris to approve the amended city administrator contract. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Congratulations, Dave.
Well,
Yes.
thank you. I'm excited to begin, but really excited because this basically mandates Mike to invite me to the wastewater treatment tour, so I'm very excited about that.
Oh, there you go.
Do you want to move over there now, Dave?
The pens, Mike?
Okay, very good. Okay, item B, unscheduled part-time wages for the ambulance employees. Tim?
I sent a memo, an updated one. Sarah pushed that out to you guys. We met with like a personnel committee last night. We discussed several things. The personnel committee has directed me to do a little more research with Springstead, the people who developed our pay grade and our pointing system. I had a conversation with them today, and I'll report back to the personnel committee with the findings of that. But they went ahead and made the recommendation to move ahead with the on-call side of the portion that I submitted to them for a proposal. And essentially, it really helps compensate those overachievers, the ones that really put in the effort, the ones that are always picking up more than they should. And that this compensation gives them just a little more for their efforts. So.
Any questions for Tim? I get a motion to approve the unscheduled part-time wages as presented by the Personnel Committee.
So move. I'll second.
Motion is made by Morris, second by Bill, to approve the unscheduled part-time wages for ambulance employees. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, that brings us back to item 8A, what was pulled down from the consent agenda, stormwater utility.
And I brought this down, but I would like Dave to give us a picture because this has been a long-running event.
Thank you. As Bill said, this request by Cheryl Bauer has been under consideration with the Public Works Commission for about the fourth quarter of last year. And the request came to us from Cheryl Bauer, a property owner, been paying the stormwater utility fee, and came to us with a request for a retroactive credit or rebate, if you will, for stormwater fees paid since this ordinance was first adopted in 2009. And gave pretty good reasons why the Public Works should consider this. I think that the Public Works Commission did a really good job in terms of listening and trying to find a way to see if there was really something there where a retroactive credit or payment could be justified. And I think through our conversation, through the deliberation, found that in talking with the city attorney that our ordinance says no retroactive payments, black and white, clear as can be. And we just couldn't find a way to respond in the way that Cheryl Bauer had requested of us. So through those conversations, the final request of Cheryl was that we bring this matter to the city council. If there's some thinking from the councilors that we ought to make a consideration for a retroactive payment, then at your direction, this should go back to the Public Works Commission, and they should then, which we'll work with them on, relook at the ordinance and really decide how to consider, how to facilitate, how to present a change of language in the ordinance that would allow this type of credit to be made. So Cheryl did ask us to bring it, or ask the Public Works Commission to bring it to all of you, and if it's something that you feel is worthy of consideration, then we would recommend that it be returned to the Public Works Commission for their consideration.
But she's been working with the Public Works for years, if I remember right.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's been since the utilities were extended to that area, there's been ongoing communication between the Bauers and city staff, but we're not certain that there's been specific communication relative to a stormwater credit. That we're not sure about through our research. That's fair? Yeah.
Yeah, she over the years had some issues with, as she put it, her water bill. And of course, our water bill has 4 components to it. And she did not specifically mention stormwater. As Dave pointed out, our ordinance does not allow us to pay retroactively. We tried to work with Cheryl. We found out we can't legally. I've argued pretty consistently in our public works meetings, as Morris knows, that we should not change any city ordinance just for one individual or business in this case. It would open the door if we were to change this to having potentially 1 or 2 dozen companies coming forward and asking for a change and retroactive. And as you can see from the memo that you have in front of you, we've got long-term liabilities for the stormwater utility fund that are, include up over $500,000 in debt. So my opinion is that we do not change this ordinance because you can really open a real Pandora's box here. And while I know Cheryl would be disappointed, we did try our hardest to work around, but we simply could not find a way that was in a legal manner.
It's probably fair to add that the Caravan has applied for a credit, has been reviewed by the city engineer, is receiving the credit. And the unfortunate thing is, had the credit application been submitted years ago, probably would have been approved at that point and there would have been some credit forthcoming, but it just wasn't done. But she is receiving the credit, or they are receiving the credit now.
Right, as of October, yeah, she just...
Why do they get the credit? What's the reasoning for that?
A couple of things, and it's a little bit different in the Caravan. Caravan's an existing building on an existing piece of property, but you all know that there's a fair amount of green space on the property. So the Caravan's able to handle a lot of their own stormwater management on their site because they're not fully covered by blacktop, fully covered by buildings, not sending the water largely to other locations. So under our ordinance, they were given a credit, rightfully so, up to a 75% credit, but because they're handling a lot of their own stormwater. So the ordinance allows that in situations where existing conditions, you're taking care of some of your water or all of your water, or more often than not, the 13, 14, 15 credits that we have right now are when someone puts a new addition on their property and they're mandated by state law to provide their own stormwater holding ponds, their own management system for stormwater, so they get a credit for that. So most of our credits have been related really to expansions of existing uses where they've built on additions to their building. They've created, Gemini and others have created their own stormwater holding facilities on site, and they get a credit for that.
Okay.
So anyway, I know Dave put this on here for us to all consider, and my recommendation is that we leave the ordinance as is, and I guess I will make that a motion.
Is there a second to that motion?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Motion's been made by Bill and second by Derek to, how should I word it?
I think to leave the ordinance language as it currently is written.
Ordinance language as is. Is there any other discussion?
I just want to say, I talked to Mr. Eltoff earlier today, and at the inception of this credit, there was, I forgot the number, almost a dozen.
Yeah, we came up with just under a dozen that
Just
took
right away
advantage of
signed
it
up,
right
so
away.
it wasn't that, it wasn't unknown that you could do that, so.
Right, and we do that with all our ordinances. They do get published in the Beacon at the time that they are passed.
Yeah, there would have been a public hearing about it. Did get published, and some took advantage then. And then we did rerun it. I think the public has noticed because we've had, I think, 6 requests for applications now. We reran it on the water bill when we sent it out, or the multiple bills we sent out on the one card. and then we did even highlight on all the commercial accounts just to catch their attention even more, because they're more than likely the ones that will apply and would get it. If you know, it's warranted to them. Residential's usually they're not, capturing much, and there usually is a few dollar fee, so there's not even much savings there for them. But we have had, I think, 6 more requests for apps. 3 of them we've been received now, and we've passed on to Mr. Anderson to check out for us.
I think this is one of those cases too where it's regrettable that it didn't happen, but when you're a business person, anyone who's run a business knows sometimes there are oopses that it just can't be helped, and they end up being a cost of doing business. And it's too bad that it worked out this way, but the ordinance is clear.
Well, I think the Public Works, I was at a couple of the meetings, and they wanted to go out of their way for Cheryl Bauer, but like you say, the ordinance is clear.
Yeah.
Our hands are tied.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, motion's been made and second. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye. 5-1, to keep the charter or keep the as is. Okay, that leads us to reports. Dave?
Just got a couple of things. For the council's information, we did receive at the end of 2018 a $10,000 payment from the Cannon Falls Historical Society related to the purchase of the property at 212 West Mill Street. So that's the first payment that they've provided to us, and we're assured that there will be more payments forthcoming, but I want the council to be aware that we have received $10,000, and also thank Steve Dablo and the Historical Society for that payment. This morning, along with Attorney Burkhart, the EDA, we closed our loan with Raw Bistro, Patricia Green. If you've been down in that area, you'll see an addition on the east side of the property. That addition's being built to house additional freezer refrigeration equipment for Raw Bistro. One of the other benefits of that project, which I'm particularly happy about, and I hope the neighbors are too, is that once the equipment is up and running in that building, that the trailer that's sitting on the east side of that building, which has been temporary freezer space, will be removed, and that will remove some of the noise that's been kind of a concern in that neighborhood for the last year or more. So we appreciate that. But that loan closed this morning. The addition's essentially done, and the equipment will be installed and continue to be installed over the course of the next week or two. So that was good. And speaking of that neighborhood, I have been in communication with Greg Isaacson, county engineer with Goodhue County, discussing the next steps for the 3rd Street Bridge project. Things are still looking pretty favorable in terms of certainly federal funding for that project, for the construction. And it looks now like there's some definite movement forward for funding the balance of the project, 20% of the project, through state funding. It's a high priority for the Minnesota State Historical Society. It's a high priority for MnDOT. And it looks like there could be some further dollar assistance coming, and to the extent that does, this project could be built or begin to be built and preserved in 2020. So that's, I think, good news, at least at this point. But that's, I guess, only one thing. Again, to thank the council for your support on the appointment of city administrator, but I also want to thank Linnell, too. I've learned in the last couple of months the additional rigors and activities that come through the administrator's office, and so I'm learning firsthand the things that she's been working on the last year or so, and appreciate all the help that she's done. Thank you.
Mike?
Just a couple things. First is a fire department event that I just wanted to recognize and bring up in front of the council tonight. Saturday night is our we kind of call it our family appreciation night that we do with our significant others with the fire department. So I just want to recognize them tonight. Our volunteer firefighters in town, it's kind of a fun thing for us to be a part of, but a very dedicated thing. But we also recognize what our families put up with, to allow us and give us the time to do what we do, for this community. And the other thing we do then is include kind of our awards recognition night too for our firefighters, because our families allow us to be able to give that time to the community to also get. It lets us do some very good things in our community and help some people. So we'll be recognizing 6 firefighters too for some outstanding efforts they did on some calls over the last year. And I'll have some letters then to give them with their awards that I'll have the mayor sign here by the end of the week too, that they'll get presented from the city to recognize them. And we do that together as a big group on Saturday evening. That'll be taking place this weekend. So I just wanted to make that known to the council. We've got that coming up. And then public works side, we did take delivery now. Cannon Falls Township finally got their new grader. A few months ago, you guys had approved me to trade ours in and then purchase their Cannon Falls Township's used grader. So we took delivery on that. The crew did a little bit of briefing on it already, when we took delivery on it. And then once we get our crew back to size there with the replacement of Dave's position, we've got the company we purchased it from is going to come out and do an all-day kind of training event with us to kind of get everybody up to speed. Because with the retirement of Dave, we did lose our most experienced grader operator is one thing we realized with that. So we got to get the crew up to speed on that. Because Dave had thousands of hours in that machine that we just purchased. So we're going to work on that over the next month, and then hopefully not wait for snow. So that's what we got going.
The EMT class started last night. If there's anybody that's still interested, just reach out to the public safety building and let us know. We can still get you in. The first night was mainly just the briefing of what's expected of those students. And so if there's anybody that was on the fence and decided that they thought they missed the boat, we'll still get you on the boat before it sails. So you're welcome to come down. So, and then congratulations, Dave. It'll be fun working with you. I got plenty of stuff to go through. And thanks, Linnell, for all your work. I've had to tap into your resources quite a bit over the last year. So,
Joe?
So it was a busy day for officers today. Last night, we had 6 vehicles that were broken into. We always tell people to lock their cars, but unfortunately that was taken advantage of last night and windows were smashed. There were valuables that were in vehicles that were targeted. In one particular case, it looked like they tried to steal the vehicle by punching the ignition. As you recall, the 2nd of January, we had a vehicle stolen, and a crime was used with that vehicle. So there's definitely somebody out there that's taken advantage. Just want to remind people it's getting colder out. I know how it is. Let's warm up the vehicle before we drive. But this is what's going to open up. Is somebody's out there, a vehicle is likely to go missing. So please don't leave your vehicle unoccupied. And keep any valuables out of sight. Some of the vehicles targeted have been work vehicles. It's hard to empty all your tools out every night. Fortunately, in a couple of these cases, they had car alarms. So once that car alarm went off, people were alerted, checked their vehicles, found it, called us right away, and we continue to check the area. So we are reviewing surveillance video, and we followed up with a couple people of interest today. So just want to remind people, if you see something, give us a call. I'm on all night. There's not a whole lot going on at 4 o'clock in the morning. These incidents occurred between 4 and 5 o'clock this morning. So for those early risers, take a peek outside, see if anything's going on, and give me a call. So my number's still 911. So that's all I got. Thanks.
Wow.
Linnell?
On the podium in front of each of you, I placed a leadership conference training information from the League of Minnesota Cities. There's a newly elected officials program in Mankato, Plymouth, and Brainerd. There's also an experienced officials program also in Plymouth and Brainerd. So please take a look at this and seriously consider attending if at all possible. Let me know and I can get you registered and then go over the travel reimbursement information with you and things like that. So please let me know as soon as you're able and we'll get you registered. Thank you.
Hey, staff. Steve.
Just a shout out to the back row there. I don't know if she's doing schoolwork or writing my biography. Schoolwork? Very good. Welcome. Congratulations, Dave, for moving over from one side to the other. And Linnell, thanks for all your interim work. That's all I have.
Not much to report. This spring, the park board will start meeting, and I looked at our budget, and something that's already pinged on my radar is that we have those porta potties instead of the permanent bathroom facilities that we have at Hannah's Bend and at the East Side Park with the Lions. I'm just wondering for people's input on if we should go back to the permanent facilities, try to save a few $100 a month by running those and get rid of the mini biffs. But that's pretty much it. Again, congratulations. Linnell, thank you. That's pretty much all I've got.
Bill?
Okay, I'm going to be rambling on here a fair amount. First, Linnell, thank you for being the interim. Dave, congratulations. For those of you here and at home watching, did you notice something here tonight? Yeah. We had a meeting that went very smooth. We had one individual with our public input, stayed at our 3 minutes. Everything was fine. We didn't have anybody during the business portion of our meeting standing up and trying to engage the council in comments, which are not allowed during that time of the meeting. We unfortunately, over the last, I was reappointed to the council last March, and even before that, we've had an individual who has engaged in harassment, intimidation, and threats, especially hitting our staff and a few former and current council people. I have personally been threatened by said individual. We need to reestablish, as a council and staff, control of our meetings. I understand everybody has freedom of speech, and we should have that. However, us as a council and staff should be able to run a meeting in a business-like fashion without the rhetoric that has been going on and has been intensifying to a great degree in the last few months. We have many ways of doing that. I know I'm chairing the Public Works Committee, and at our first meeting, I informed those on the committee that we also have a public input section for that, and it'll read the same as we have here. And because we meet in the conference room, we're kind of tight on space. So I ask that we have our audience members who are there that are not on the agenda to sit. For those of you who are familiar with the conference room, we have a back rows of chairs to sit there. If they speak in the public input, that's fine. Keep it germane to what's going on in the meeting. Limit it to 3 minutes. During the business portion of our meeting, they are not allowed to, the audience members are not allowed to speak unless they are on the agenda. Enforcement will be, if someone does not agree to these things, they will be asked to sit down. If they do not, they will be asked to leave. If they do not do that, I've worked out with Mike that he will call law enforcement and they will come and remove person or persons who do not follow those procedures. I would like to see the council follow the same thing. However, as far as the council goes, we are not required to have a public input section. We can eliminate that if we wish. We can enforce it. We can move. An example, an idea was, why don't we move the public input to right after all our reports? And that way, if someone
decides they don't want to follow the proper protocol, any council member can go, motion to adjourn, second, John hits the gavel, we're done, mics and camera off. And we can help control it that way. Now, having said that, we have many employees who are on the verge of quitting. They're afraid because of this said individual. The harassment, Jeff McCormick, our police chief, has certainly received a lot, but even more so, and I asked Mike's permission about this earlier, he has been inundated at times during his workday. He will be contacted by phone or text, sometimes in excess of 10 times by said individual. This is harassment at its worst. All our staff should be able to work in a calm, friendly environment. I know Linnell has mentioned to me before that staff, if they get a call from a citizen that's irate and they're going a little bit out of control, that she asks them to say, hey, we can't have this, we'll have to hang up. But in Mike's case, let me back up here. A number of our city employees have city-issued phones, and for people to get a hold of our department heads and that kind of thing, which is great because most of the time someone will call up and they've got a problem or they're irritated about something. Again, I'll use Mike as an example. Public Works people will try and help them out, answer their questions, whatever. And there might only be 1 or 2 phone calls over a week, and it's done. Currently, that is not happening with this particular individual. Mike goes home at night and on weekends, and when he's off the clock, as all staff, you should be able to go home and enjoy your evening. You know, spend time with your family, whatever it is you're going to do, without having to worry about, gee, is this person going to be calling me? And I would suggest for our staff, including Mike, when you're off duty, turn your city phone off. When there is say a weather emergency or ambulance or police, we already have other ways of communicating so that the proper people are contacted. But our staff should not have to put up with this. Jeff informed me that if this individual appears on your doorstep, don't even wait, call 911. And if necessary, have him arrested. We have to take back control of this city. We cannot have the tail wagging the dog. So I would suggest for all staff to, like I say, when you're done with your shift for the day, you're off duty. You do not have to put up with this. I would further like to add that, and I think I speak for the whole council on this, we support each and every member of our staff 100%. And we want you to know that. We have some incredible employees that work here. And I hate the idea that some are thinking of quitting, looking for other jobs, being afraid to come to work or say something, because that might get back to that certain individual. So I want you guys to know that we appreciate everything you do, and we'll have your back. And I know you'll have our back. And we can work together and solve this issue. Because for those of us that are old enough to remember when this particular individual served on the council and mayor, the town was a laughingstock. We are quickly becoming that again. I call on our businessmen and businesswomen to come forward and talk with this individual, because I believe because of this, business will be lost, and we have to stop this. I guess I'll end my rant there. Well, then to say, Dave, we're going to have our hands full, but we will work with you.
Hey, Derek?
I guess on a lighter note, I took the famous Public Works tour today before Dave. So it was really interesting. Mike and Wes showed me for a couple hours the whole wastewater treatment facility and how that runs, the fire hall, and just how the water system works. So thanks to Mike and Wes, and if any of you guys ever want to see that, I'm sure they'd love to show you around. That's about it.
Mary Jo?
The fireworks display in your honor is starting immediately after the meeting. It will go on about 3 hours, something like that. No, welcome aboard in your new capacity. I would also like to say that I guess I have to go to the newly elected officials program because my sister worked for the League of Minnesota Cities for about 300 years, and she's already told me I have to go. So if anyone wants to go, she's probably going to be at the one in Plymouth to guide me around and tell me what to do. So I understand it's a great program, so I really do encourage new members to go, and that's all I have.
I got is congratulations, Dave, and thanks.
Okay, I got a few things. Congratulations to Dave and
Thanks,
Linnell
Dave.
for all you've done for the city here the last year or so. But I wanted to read a statement from the Personnel Committee that we met last night and came up with this statement. On December 18th, 2018, the Personnel Committee and the City Council accepted Dave Pagel's request to voluntarily retire in good standing. In that, Mr. Pagel has voluntarily retired, and the Personnel Committee believes that that matter is resolved. It's really up to Dave to where it goes from there. A couple of things that I'd like to bring up. We talked about having a work session, and I think it's a good idea. Get the council together and set some goals. We talked about meeting on a Saturday. I don't know, I think a night would be better for me.
I work almost every Saturday morning until about
So
4.
maybe evenings would be better, yeah. Yeah.
Like a Monday, if we can come up Monday or Wednesday or whatever works. Be nice to get together and set up some goals.
I agree.
Pull our
Yeah.
query everybody as to what date
Yeah, give
will
us a
work
few
best.
times and dates, and
Sometime in the near future, because it would be important.
sounds good.
Next week?
Yeah, it's an off week.
No, there's a trail meeting Tuesday.
Yeah, but we maybe don't do it Tuesday then. Do it Wednesday, church night.
Oh, Wednesday next week. What's that look like?
Would it be beneficial to hold that meeting after people have had an opportunity to perhaps attend some of these trainings?
That's
So
good,
that
yeah.
if issues or questions come up as a result of some of the information that they found out, we can discuss it as a group and maybe clarify information that we can all go over together.
Maybe do it the second week of February, because the Plymouth
Good
one is.
idea.
That
No,
is a
that-
good idea.
And that's
Yeah.
a very good point,
Yeah.
because both the freshman orientation for the league and the experienced one were both very.
Are you thinking Valentine's Day, Mary Jo?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's my favorite day of the year.
Well, okay, let's leave it. We'll set a date at the next council meeting then.
Sounds good.
Okay. Okay, I had got a letter from Mayo. They would like to meet with the mayor and council, any council members that would like to meet with them. They got some plans they'd like to discuss. And the time has been set up. It's a month away, February 27th at 4 o'clock in City Hall here. It'll last about an hour, but For those of you who can make it, they'll put on a program, and they've got some things they want to talk about.
Is this something then that would have to be posted if, because we have a quorum?
Yeah,
Oh.
maybe so. February 27th at 4 o'clock.
Okay.
And I'll bring it up at the next couple meetings. It's a month away, but.
Okay.
Linnell and I met this week with the census. A gentleman was here from Chicago. Starting to think about the census for 2020. And decisions got to be made if Cannon Falls wants to be a, what do they call it, a CCC city?
Yeah, it's a census count committee. CCC stands for Census Count Committee. The cities can opt to do this and set up a committee to get people interested and excited about participating in the census. So actually, when the census date of April 1st, 2020 rolls around, we get a high participation from our community, which helps better give an accurate picture of what our population truly is. That in turn also helps with the representation in federal and local governments or state governments, and also in funding possibilities. So it's something that they're really encouraging that all communities do. We are not required to do it. We have not done it in the past. I don't recall what our percentages were. He did tell us the participation. It did go down from the 2000 to 2010, so we're hoping to reverse that trend in 2020. And so he was just asking if the city of Cannon Falls would be interested in putting together some type of a committee. The committee would not be necessarily staff people. It would be people from the community that would have an interest in working on this project. And so I think, John, I hope I'm not speaking, too much here for you, but, that to see if there's interest in the community of people participating in that and coming up with ideas of getting groups involved and people involved, perhaps going to community events, working with businesses, the chamber, working with schools, other organizations, just to get the word out there and get participation.
I think the first step we were going to do was make a proclamation and maybe put it in the paper that the census is going to start. And then looking for volunteers, an ad in the paper too. And we haven't been a consensus city the last two censuses, but it's something to look at if there's enough participation to do that. So work on that. We got in a month, I think, to work on that, so we'll see what happens. The only other thing I got is tomorrow MnDOT is meeting at Erland Church at 10 o'clock, talking about the Highway 52 highway project. If anybody's interested, it starts at 10 o'clock at Erland. They're going to put out what plans they've got for the Highway 52 construction. Other than that, congratulations, Dave. Thanks, Linnell. Has anybody else got anything else? I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
You can cover that.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to mention that, with your interest in moving forward the goal-setting conversation, I'll say verbally and I'll email you all of this as well. But I know you've had the opportunity to tour the wastewater plant, and nothing gets better than that. But anyone who's interested in taking a tour of the community with myself, we can show you what the EDA has been working on, the different projects that we've had before us in the last several years. I'm happy to do that at your convenience too, just so you understand that. So.
Very good. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Second by Mary Jill. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.